He has had a lot to say about our coverage of this series, but that's classic Bill Lambier. He is trying to instill in his team an us against the world mentality. Deanna Nolan told me before the game that for some reason they like to play with their backs against the wall. This stock team thinks that they can overcome that 20-point loss in Game 3, and they've actually only lost back-to-back games once this season. For more in Sacramento, let's go on over to Heather Cox.
Well, we've heard all about Detroit's antics, but what about Sacramento's reaction to them? Today at shoot-around, Coach Wisner said Detroit is trying to distract us. We have to stay focused, keep our blinders on. He used the theme he's used all season called FAD, focus, attitude, determination. He said, we've got the depth, we've got the home court, now let's get the title. Then Coach Wisner added to me, Bill Lambier is making it Detroit against the world. And then he said, you know, I'm okay with that. Detroit can take on the world. We've only got to take on the 5 opposing players. He likes those odds, Dave.
And Bill Lambier has always said they are at their best when they're living on the edge. As we turn to our McDonald's starting lineup, Swin Cash, Ruth Riley, and Cheryl Ford up front. Ford 25 points in Game 1, but 16 points in Games 2 and 3 combined. There's the duo that Doris talked about, Katie Smith and Deanna Nolan. For Sacramento, Yolanda Griffith in search of her second straight Finals MVP award, joined by Powell and Walker. And in the backcourt, Penachero and Kara Lawson. Lawson did not score in Game 3, yet Sacramento still won by 20. And don't know if this is a sign or just coincidence, but the person who started the festivities tonight, the national anthem singer's name, Lorraine DiArco.
She sang before Game 3 as well, so perhaps it is an omen.
And Detroit will start with the basketball. If there is a Game 5, it will be at Joe Louis Arena in Detroit on Saturday at 3:30 Eastern. For that to happen, Detroit has to end an 11-game home winning streak by Sacramento. Ford misses the first time, and then pulled down by Penachero.
That is a pass they've tried to complete without much success throughout the course of this series. Let's see. He put the onus on the guards, but his first set, he goes to the post player.
Last touch by Nolan. It will stay Sacramento basketball. Nolan has been terrific when it comes to scoring, but Bill Lambier wants more out of Nolan. 19 points per game during the playoffs, but she told you and I yesterday she can shoot more and score more. Shot clock at 7. Penachero getting inside of Nolan, and Ford with a rebound.
That's their step-through move. Every player on the roster can make it.
On the other end is Nolan, and off to a good start for Detroit.
Yeah, I think it's imperative that both Nolan and Smith be aggressive and assertive and looking for their shot early. They can get some confidence and some rhythm into this basketball team.
Now, Detroit has been here before in the 2003 championship series with LA. They lost Game 1, ended up winning that series. And in back-to-back games during the regular season, the record is incredible, 8-1. They rarely lose back-to-back games. They lost Game 1 of the series, came back to win Game 2, then lost Game 3. Nolan in the lane. And that drops through for Nolan.
She is as hard a guard as there is in this league and as close to an NBA player as you're going to find. Can get her shot at will. It's really a question not of contesting her shot. It's whether or not she makes it, because you cannot guard her.
It's amazing to think she only averaged 14 points per game in the regular season. There's a great sign for Sacramento. Lawson scoreless in Game 3. 22 points in Game 1, including 6 3-pointers. That one there is a 3. Riley. No whistle. Now cashed into the lane. And boarded by Griffith. Swin Cash averaging just 8 points per game in the playoffs and only 6 points per game in the finals. Averaged double figures during the regular year. Griffith couldn't handle the pass. It'll go to Detroit.
One of the things you saw from Sacramento in last year's championship run was in the closeout game on this home floor, his team was nervous. He addressed it yesterday with us during practice. He said, we were nervous, we were tight early. In fact, they were down by 9 at the half in the closeout game. So this is not atypical.
Katie Smith gets all the way to the rack, and the guards, Smith and Nolan, have all the points for Detroit in the first 2.5 minutes. And then they fall asleep on defense, and Penachero gets a layup. Tisha Penachero in Game 3 at 7 points. That's double her average in the final.
She's not a perimeter scorer, but she can attack the basket.
Cash, beautiful feed to Cheryl Ford. Excellent teamwork early on by Detroit.
Now, they are a talented and imposing front line, and when she goes off the bounce, she forces defensive help, and you get easy shots on the weak side.
How about this? 4 possessions, 4 baskets, no turnovers by Detroit. They're averaging 23 turnovers a game in this series. Panachero off target. Out to Griffith as Griffith puts it up and no good, but a foul. Cheryl Ford got a block, but Griffith got it right back and will go to the line. First foul on Ford and first foul in the game.
Well, Deanna Nolan is as physically athletic as any player in the league. Great elevation. Look at how pretty that is, folks. I mean, that's a legitimate jump shot and something you don't always see from women.
Griffith averaging 16 points per game in the postseason after a career low 12 points per game during the regular year. Again, Bill Laimbeer wearing a microphone today, but it's not live. Yolanda Griffith gets them both. Sacramento within one. First points for the veteran who may be playing her final game in the WNBA, contemplating retirement. Nolan again, 6 points for Deanna Nolan.
Something they're doing effectively. Little screens for Deanna Nolan. She does not need a lot of space, so you make her job easy.
Entry pass to Griffith, and she lost it. Detroit ball.
You get the sense that they're a little bit anxious. You know, they're getting into their moves quickly. Yolanda trying to go without the basketball.
She told us yesterday this is the hardest game to win in the playoffs. Clinching game in a championship series. Everybody expects you to win it too. Ford gets free. Another assist by Cash, and it's 12-7 Detroit.
So clearly they are having good balance early, Detroit. They are mixing their inside and outside game, and John Wisner wisely uses a timeout.
Well, Cheryl Ford took only 4 shots in Game 3. She's already taken 3 in the opening moments of Game 4. 5-point lead for Detroit. They're shooting 75% from the field, and it helps when you have a player like Deanna Nolan. Nolan with 6 points already. Katie Smith with a deuce. Ford the other 4, and Detroit leads by 5.
Oh my! Deanna Nolan steps up huge!
I have heart.
Kara, right baseline, bounces to Yo and D, plays it up and in!
Gotta love that. I'm a winner.
Look who's there, Cheryl Ford. Are you kidding me?
Detroit will represent the Eastern Conference in the WNBA Finals.
Sacramento is on its way back to the WNBA Finals.
This is going to be a hard-fought final.
ESPN2's presentation of the WNBA Finals, presented by Vonage, and in part by Toyota. Choose any direction as long as it's moving forward. Toyota, moving forward. The Discover card. It pays to discover. And AOL. Visit AOL.com for the latest WNBA highlights.
Hi, I'm Deanna Nolan, shooting guard for the Detroit Traps. I have 17 total tattoos, but by the time I finished college, I only had 3. So now, 6 years later into the league, I have 17. My hardest thing is finding new spaces for ones I want or see, but I think I'm running out of places, so I think I'm done for now.
There's not a player in this league who can guard Deanna Nolan one-on-one. You're going to require assistance. This bucket getting out in transition, no contest. Then off the bounce, as she backs down Tisha Panachero, and even with a hand up, you get the sense of her elevation. That contest, that challenge hand is not even close to the ball.
Detroit has hit its last 4 shots as a team. They're Nolan's numbers in the regular season and the playoffs. Her scoring average up about 5 points per game in the postseason from the regular year. 5-point shock lead, 4 minutes gone by in the opening period. Here's Panachero. They'll let her shoot that shot. Not if it drops, though. They may make an adjustment.
Well, I think given Tisha's want to pass the basketball, they'll give her a couple more of those looks before they change their strategy.
And a Sacramento foul, the first on the Monarchs. It will go against Nicole Powell. John Wisnick done a heck of a job with the Sacramento basketball team, especially in a year filled with distractions, including the passing away of his mother in June. This Sacramento team was 9-8 at one point, did not have the best record in the Western Conference, but has been the best team in the postseason, obviously, to this point. Team up 2-1 in the series. Ruth Riley on the floor. Nolan, 6 seconds to shoot. Katie Smith for 3. And pulled in by Panachero. Panachero drives, and a foul on Nolan. Her first, second on Detroit. Panachero aggressive today.
Well, we've seen her 3 times look to create her own offense. She got that easy bucket in transition. She made the uncontested jump shot on the last possession. Nobody stops the basketball. Rule 1 in transition defense is go find the point guard and slow it down. Tisha makes the right read. She's one of the most savvy point guards in this league.
In her 9th year out of Old Dominion, the all-time assist leader in the WNBA's history. Trying to win her 2nd straight championship. 5 points already for Panachero, only averaging 3 points per game in this series.
Both teams playing man-to-man. You won't see anything other than man-to-man from Sacramento. You will see Detroit mix things a little bit defensively.
Smith, nice feed to Ford, and then Griffith rotated for the block. The officials are conferring, and it will stay Detroit ball. And Cheryl Ford caught amidst the cameraman.
5 seconds on the shot clock for Detroit, so you have some time to set a screen. You can use a dribble if you need to.
They're trying for the lob, and over the head of Riley. Panachero to Lawson. They let Panachero shoot. Rebounded by Ford. Great opportunity for Sacramento to take the lead. They had a breakaway, and Panachero got caught in the air, waiting for Lawson. And again, Detroit having problems with that high-low. That's their 2nd turnover of the game. We've seen them give that play away a lot in the series.
Yeah, Nancy Lieberman talked about that in the pregame show. Averaging 20 turnovers. You won't win many series with that high a number.
Panachero again from outside. And again missing. Walker may have been over the back, no call. Griffith, and blocked by Riley, but a Detroit foul.
Sacramento, the best offensive rebounding team in the WNBA, and they give you an example of why right there. Great persistence and position.
They give Swin Cash the foul. That's her first, 3rd team foul on Detroit. Yolanda Griffith, 77% free throw shooter. And the WNBA Finals will conclude on Saturday if Detroit wins tonight. We'll have Game 5 in Detroit at 3:30 Eastern on ESPN2. And we talked about in our open the fact that every WNBA champion has clinched the title on its home floor. So if Detroit should win tonight, then they have the advantage going into Game 5.
Now, clearly, throughout the course of this series, we've said Detroit's an incredibly talented basketball team. The games they've lost, it's been because of lack of focus, something Coach Lambier has touched on throughout the course of this series.
Sacramento has scored the last 6 points, but Katie Smith ends that. 4 points for Smith. Her and Nolan have combined for 10 of the 14 Detroit points.
They each present different challenges. Smith, her strength and her shooting. Nolan, her athleticism.
Walker with a jump shot. First basket for Jemiah Walker, averaging 13 per game in the finals. Nolan can't get the roll. Braxton is there, no. And rebounded by Walker. Ahead to Powell. And Powell slices through the defense and scores off glass.
Great patience. When you're going up against tremendous jumpers, use your smarts. Step through the defense, use the window. Good stuff from Powell.
All 5 starters have scored for Sacramento. Its largest lead of the game at 3. A 10-2 run right now. Entry to Ford. That's the 3rd layup that Detroit has missed. Granted, that was a little bit tougher than the other 2. Powell elects not to use the screen. And cans a 3! Timeout Detroit. At first, it looked like she wasn't going to use the screen. Nobody popped out on her, so she pulled the trigger. And in front of this near sellout crowd, Sacramento has its largest lead.
Great transition and smart play. This is a heck of a catch. Not only does she catch it, gather herself against defenders and against duress, she takes a step toward the basket, splits defenders. That's very smart. The screen and roll, you see the post player come out to challenge, but because she used that step back dribble, she was in no position to contest. That's a solid response right there from Sacramento.
Nicole Powell averaging 13 points per game in the finals. She has 5 in a row for Sacramento, which is on a 13-2 run. Let's bring Heather Cox in.
Dave, you had talked about Sacramento's distractions. Nobody thought this team would be able to repeat. You talked about Coach Whitney's mother passing away. Also, Carol Lawson's fatigue illness. Yolanda Griffith's knee injury. The turning point came about a month ago. Yolanda Griffith, in the middle of practice, absolutely frustrated with Coach Wisnett, walked out of practice not believing in Coach Wisnett's defensive strategy. She kicked the ball, walked away. Coach Wisnett find her with a smirk on his face, and that moment they all point to as the turning minute because they started to believe in this white line defense, and it has been a difference in the reason for their run. What about Detroit? Let's go to Stephanie Reddy.
Well, Heather, in the Detroit huddle, the intensity has really risen in Game 3 down the stretch. We saw a totally different Detroit Shock team. Right now, they're very intense. They're getting fired up, and Coach Bill Lambier is stressing to his team they have got to finish. They've already missed 4 layups, and he wants them to contest all shots. A totally different Detroit Shock team here than we saw in Game 3, Dave.
Stephanie, you can't ask for better shots than their post players are getting. You're right. They've missed easy inside opportunities.
And a key stretch here for Detroit. How will the Shock respond to Sacramento's run? Here in Game 4, Sacramento leading the series 2-1. And a foul out high on Kristen Haney. That's her first, second on the Monarchs in the period. Katie Smith looking for her first WNBA championship. Won a pair with Columbus in the ABL. This is her first trip to the finals. And would love to put this team on her back. Win Game 4 and then head home for Game 5 on Saturday. Hall with a nice defensive play into the arms of Griffith. Anke Tumaiga-Ba into the game, and so is Brunson, and she quickly picks up a foul.
Wow. Well, that's an interesting call, given Bill Lambier's complaints about a double standard with regards to Detroit's post players, an early foul against Sacramento. If I'm John Wisnett, I'm making sure I'm heard from that sideline.
Nolan from outside. Battle on the floor and a jump ball. So Nolan hit her first 3 shots, but has missed 2 straight.
And again, Dave, it's not because the defense has changed or because the contest is better. It's really whether or not Deanna makes it, because it has very little to do with the defense.
Saw a shot of Gavin and Joe Maloof, the Sacramento Kings and Monarchs owners. There's a T-boat coming in November. And stadium tax is the issue, arena tax. They are trying to get a new arena in downtown Sacramento. And if they don't, there's been speculation that maybe the franchise would move. 1 field goal in the last 4 minutes for Detroit. Here's Nolan off the bounce. Coming over to make the block is Griffith. And then a foul called as Ford tried to stick it back up and in.
This is the player who's been the most dominant rebounder in this league, Cheryl Ford. Just under 12 rebounds. The speed of Nolan forces the defensive help. That allows Cheryl Ford, who doesn't have a defender on her, to go and get the offensive board. That is why dribble drive is so hurtful to a team defense.
First foul on Griffith. Third team foul on Sacramento. Cheryl Ford, 73% free throw shooter. Just found out that she's been named as a replacement to Team USA that'll take part in the World Championships in Brazil starting next week.
Yeah, a great addition. It would be Lisa Leslie and Yolanda Griffith both stepping aside for personal reasons. You need inside help. The other players named Candace Parker, outstanding collegian from Tennessee, and Michelle Snow, a center from Houston. So they get the inside position and a physically gifted player, Candace Parker.
Neither team has missed a free throw yet. Sacramento 6 of 6. Ford hit her first free throw. 20-16 Sacramento. Sacramento has led at the end of every single quarter in this series, with the exception of the fourth quarter in Game 2. They led by 6 going into that period, and Detroit won the game by 10. Maigaba throws it away. Sacramento with its 4th turnover.
And in fact, Sacramento has led for 107 of a possible 120 minutes in this series. They have just flat out dominated.
And an offensive foul on Detroit. That's going to go against Deanna Nolan, her 2nd already. And that's one player that Bill Laimbeer cannot afford to have on the bench for too long.
Elaine Powell comes in. Now, she is similar to Nolan, good athlete, but watch the free throw line. There is a foul. I mean, there's no question about that. Busher does her job. You have got to hit the deck when there's that kind of contact.
Bill Laimbeer, after Game 3, criticized the officials during his post-game press conference and was fined by the league for those comments regarding the officials. Shot clock at 10. Here's Powell with 4 down. Hits another one. 3 straight makes for Nicole Powell. She has 7.
How good is that, folks? How you talk about smarts and patience. Nicole Powell, that was great.
It was the bench in Game 3. The starters in Game 4 have all 22 points for Sac, which has a 6-point lead. Cash, nice drive, gets the roll, her first basket.
She really changes the complexion of this team from the 3 spot. She's got that slashing ability. She's worked hard on that face-up game to become a factor from the 3 spot.
Maigaba will rise and hit. Sacramento shooting 53% from the field. And in their 2 wins, they're shooting right around 50%. Smith to the basket again. She has 6.
Twice in this basketball game, we've seen Katie Smith use that left hand. She is equally proficient. And as any young basketball player knows, you have got to be able to use both hands.
Under a minute remaining. Aaron Busher strip. Last touch by Detroit. Gwinnett Pearson will come into the game, replacing Ford. Pearson has had a very good postseason, but has been somewhat quiet in the playoffs, or in the finals rather, averaging 4 points per game.
Watch Katie Smith, just great read and transition. Nobody stopped the ball. Maiga was a little bit slow to identify where she was, and Katie is as savvy a guard. This is the all-time leading scorer in women's professional history, Katie Smith. She knows how to put it in the basket.
Shot clock at 5. Here's Durrell. Haney with Powell on it. Haney gets it up, and it's going to be a shot clock violation. That ends a streak of 5 consecutive made field goals by Sacramento.
Outstanding defense. I mean, this is the kind of defense Bill Laimbeer got from his team throughout the course of the regular season.
About a 10-second difference between the game and shot clocks. Smith, who has 6 points. Braxton, Pearson underneath, and she was fouled.
That is just great persistence on the box from Gwinnett Pearson. As the ball reversed, Dave, she moved with the reversal. And how about the pass from Braxton? This is a 6'5" center taking a step around in defense and completing a pass to Pearson, who finishes the job.
Well, you said it, Doris, the entire series. Kara Braxton has first-team WNBA talent.
Yes, no, I don't think there's any question. She has to learn how to be a pro, how to come to work every single day. If Braxton's willing to do that, Dave, I'm not saying, I'll go a step further. I'll say she's got MVP capabilities.
Wow.
She's that physically gifted.
High praise for Kara Braxton, who's averaging 5 points per game in these finals. You mentioned Pearson scoring average higher in the playoffs than in the regular season, but has dipped here in the finals. How about the free throw shooting? A combined 10 out of 10 for these 2 squads.
And now here comes a little soft pressure. 2-2-1. Don't be surprised to see him drop into his zone defense out of this.
5 seconds remaining for Sacramento here in the quarter. Haney takes it all the way and scores. 1.1 on the clock. Smith from 3-quarter court. Sacramento by 4 after 1. In the final seconds of that quarter, they had all 5 starters on the bench, and they still scored. Kristen Haney, who had a combined 20 points in games 2 and 3, gets a basket.
You knew Detroit was going to come with it, but Sacramento's taking no step backwards, folks. It's a step at the rim. Kristen Haney and the bench continue to do the work for Sacramento.
Here at Sacramento for Game 4. Can Detroit stay alive and force Game 5? Or will Sacramento win its 2nd straight championship? The Monarchs lead by 4 after 1. The Cavs sportsmanship and teamwork. WNBA cares, leading, inspiring, and creating positive change.
We gotta finish. 4 layups we missed. 4. We gotta finish.
Well, you talk about the missed chippies, missed finishes inside. They are outscoring the Monarchs right now 14-6. That could easily be 22. 4 blown layups. You can't get better shots than that. This is exactly what you want from the most imposing front line in the WNBA.
Nolan and Ford will start the 2nd quarter on the bench. Nolan has 2 fouls. Both teams shoot well. Sacramento at 53%, Detroit at 50%. Neither team made a free throw, but Detroit still cannot get off the schneid in terms of three-pointers. 0 for 2 today, 0 for 5 in Game 3.
It's been 52 minutes since their last 3 ball has gone down.
Jarrell with that step-through move won't go. She got it back, though. Jarrell had 2 key threes in that Game 3 Sacramento win on Sunday. Sacramento leading this best of 5, 2 games to 1. If Detroit wins tonight, we'll have Game 5 back in Detroit on Saturday at 3:30 Eastern Time here on ESPN2. Micah Baum missing and then called timeout while she was on the floor. Early 2nd quarter. Sacramento 26, Detroit 22 in Game 4.
Let's see, we got Vonage a couple of months ago.
Back in Sacramento, the Monarchs with an early 4-point lead here in the 2nd quarter, and I'd like to welcome in the WNBA president, Donna Orander, who joins us. And Donna, congratulations, 10 years of WNBA, and we've seen a lot of growth, a lot of expansion, including a new team this year in the Chicago Sky. What are the future plans for expansion?
I think that, you know, our phones are ringing. We've been talking to a lot of cities. The WNBA, with its mission of leading, inspiration, creating change, unbelievable entertainment. Look at this place. We anticipate beginning in 08 that we will start to add new franchises.
And Donna, you had some serious game. In fact, an All-American at Queens College back in your day.
Right.
How do you think you'd fare with these girls?
Back in the day, I don't know, but I have to tell you, my heart's in every single play they make. And in, of course, the fantasy of my mind, I can get out there and still play. I play with my 10-year-old twins like every single day when I can, and I know that I'm probably not up to it. They're fantastic players.
They certainly are. We're seeing a lot of great action out here tonight. Let's get back to Dave and Dora.
All right, guys. Meanwhile, a foul on Elaine Powell, her first on Detroit in the period.
I think they might have called this on Kristen Haney because this is going the opposite direction.
You're right. They get Haney, but it looked like it was Powell there.
Well, arms connected first, so you could see where they could give the first whistle to Haney.
Here's another Sacramento foul. That's going to go on Micah Baum. That's her 2nd. Well, Donna Orander certainly has vision, Doris, for this league and has a great passion for women's pro basketball.
She certainly does. An expansion on the horizon. I'm glad to hear it's not immediate. This league is at a competitive standpoint. There's finally parity, and the level of talent has risen, but I'd like to see it another couple years before expansion.
Powell and Haney get entangled again. No whistle this time. Shot clock at 6. Braxton down low, and this time they don't miss the layup as Braxton puts it home.
Every time they're getting those easy shots, it's a result of dribble penetration. That white line is basically help defense, everybody being in help position. Well, it's not there for them right now.
Detroit with perhaps its best teamwork on a consistent basis in any game so far in this series. Busher amongst the trees lost it, and they're going to say that she touched it last, but it was not deflected by Detroit.
They are playing outstanding defense right now, Detroit, something they haven't always come with throughout the course of this series. They have been spotty in their effort, and that's why they are down 2 games to 1.
They're giving up rebounds, and Sacramento's hit jump shots. Otherwise, they're playing very good defense. Maybe the best they've played so far in the series. Powell scores. Beautiful move to the goal by Elaine Powell.
Another case in point. Dribble penetration equals bucket.
We're tied at 26. Detroit led by as many as 5. Sacramento was led by as many as 6. Our first tie since midway through the first quarter. Micah Ba, and another jump shot goes down. A mid-range J by Micah Ba.
Vastly improved as a basketball player. Came in as a lockdown defender and a scorer in transition. She's worked hard on that 15-foot jump shot.
There's a foul on Panachero. That's her first. And the third on Sacramento. And, of course, Micah Ba's husband has the best name in the WNBA. Ba.
Elaine Powell off the bounce, first setting up her teammate, Kara Braxton, forces defensive help. This time, defensive help doesn't come over until too late, and Powell off the bench keeps the level of athleticism.
3 team fouls now on Sacramento. Detroit yet to commit one here in the quarter. Entry to Braxton, and Kara Braxton with 4 points.
6'5", highly skilled Kara Braxton. You get her post shots like that, and she will make them.
3 starters on the bench for Detroit right now in Ford, Nolan, and Cash. And they have fought back to tie the game. And then Braxton on defense, unable to handle it. It'll go to Sack with 9 to shoot.
There is a lot more hands on basketballs, deflections in the post. Rick Pitino, both in the NBA and in the collegiate ranks, talks a lot about those deflections. It's a symbol of how aggressively you're guarding.
Lawson off the screen. She hit a 3 earlier in the game, but has been quiet since. Great defense again by Detroit, and that's a Sacramento turnover. It's 6th of the opening half.
Detroit's defense is making John Wisnick's team take tough shots.
And what you're seeing from Detroit defensively, is it simply a matter of more effort, or is he doing something from a strategy standpoint that's different from the other game?
No, and I think Bill Laimbeer is interested about his team. In fact, we had audio of him earlier tonight saying, hey, you can't stop playing. You've got to come with energy.
Braxton from outside, short. And a loose ball foul on Detroit. That'll go on Pearson, who's on the floor and pulled the Sacramento player down. That's her first. First on Detroit in the period as Yolanda Griffith comes back into the game. And Busher will go to the bench. Well, Bill Laimbeer knows a thing or two about winning. In 2003, he coached Detroit after a miserable season prior to his arrival to the WNBA championship. He won a couple as a player with the Pistons. And we talked about it in the open. When he won those championships, as Micah Ba is going to be attended to, got a shot in the face. Laimbeer said guard play was key. And you look at tonight at the guards for Detroit. You've got 6 for Nolan, 6 for Smith. Powell has a basket. And they're all 3 getting into the act in terms of distributing the basketball, too.
Powell has a basket and 2 assists, both off dribble drives. So their guards are doing the job, stepping up to the challenge of their head coach.
And then Griffith fouled. Very physical opening half. As Powell picks up her first, second on Detroit. As Micah Ba, who is bleeding, will be taken to the locker room to be checked out further.
This is the last foul. You see, they look for Kara Lawson, and Powell essentially just runs over her. This is not an intentional thing. She was just trying to guard Lawson, stay with the shooter.
Now, one of the reasons why Bill Laimbeer was so upset after Game 3 and was fined by the WNBA for criticizing officials during a post-game press conference, as Sacramento turns it over, was because he thinks they're so physical, the way they play basketball, that a lot of times he feels they don't get the calls.
Well, there has been the exact number of free throws shot by each team in this series. And in fact, Detroit shot more free throws in Game 3 than Sacramento. So I'm not sure there's validity to the argument.
And a Sacramento foul on Panachero. Her second, 4th on the Monarchs. And the next foul will put Detroit in the penalty for the remainder of the half.
Now, John Wisnick going to voice his displeasure. I think he needs to be as vocal as Coach Laimbeer. I know I would be if I were him. I want to make sure my team is getting due justice.
Panachero, nice play defensively, and then Powell knocked it out of bounds. Sacramento leading this series 2 games to 1. If it wins tonight, it'll win its 2nd straight championship. If Detroit wins, we go back to Detroit for Game 5 on Saturday. Powell gets free and hits another one. She hasn't missed tonight. 4 out of 4. 9 points for Nicole Powell.
That's the first breakdown they've had defensively where she's had an uncontested look. So it's all the way into the second quarter before she gets an uncontested shot.
Sacramento by 2. Katie Smith off target with a 3. Detroit still without a 3 in its last 2 games. Cash a strong drive and a block by Walker. It will stay Detroit basketball.
She needs to continue. She did not have success, but she needs to continue to be persistent, Swin Cash.
Had a knee injury a couple of years back and struggled last year, averaged just 6 points per game as Cheryl Ford returns replacing Braxton. Do you think Swin Cash is the same player she was prior to that injury? She was a key factor in 03 when they won it all.
Well, I'll give you Swin's perspective. She says the injury is no longer playing a part. I do not believe she's back to 100%. The GMs in this league voted her the best finisher in transition. I don't think she's as fearless yet.
Finally, a 3 goes down for Detroit as Katie Smith hits.
She is the all-time leader in threes in this league. If you allow her a screen and an open look, chances are good that it's going in.
She has 9 points, as many as she had in game 3 for the entire contest. And Detroit by 1. Missed by Sacramento. Here's Nolan, who's back into the game, playing with 2 fouls. She has 6 points in 9 minutes. Shot clock is at 7. Nolan with 3 to go. Finds Ford. And Ford sticks it in. What a play by Deanna Nolan.
Great execution. You cannot panic under duress of the shot clock. Be patient. If there's that kind of pressure, somewhere somebody's open.
Great backdoor cut, and then Riley comes over for the block on Griffith. Everybody bringing it tonight for Detroit. The Shock looked like they did in the Eastern Conference Finals when they beat Connecticut. Team with the best record in the regular season. Won that series on the road in Game 3. Cash on the baseline to Smith, spotting up for another 3. And there it is for Katie Smith. And Detroit leads by 6.
Really good job getting off the bounce, beating the initial defender, and getting the weak side shot.
12 points for Katie Smith. And Detroit has its largest lead of the game, 6 points. Griffith, good defense by Riley. And it will go to, well, the officials are going to talk about it. Detroit on an 8-0 run.
Well, this is an inbounds play where there's clearly a breakdown. No one within several feet of Katie Smith. She's far too good a shooter, folks, to let her feet get set and drain shots. You better contest, or it's going to be a long night.
They're going to give it to Sacramento. Trailing by 6 at home, where they won 11 straight playoff games. The best record ever in the postseason is home. Lawson answers for 3 for Sacramento after Smith's triple on the other end. That puts to rest an 8-0 Detroit run. The cross-court feed to Cash. Able to hit the 15-footer.
That's where she has come a long way. Collegiately, she was a post-up player, slasher in transition. That 15-foot jump shot, folks, has come about because she's worked at it.
Lawson. And the Detroit foul. They're going to get Deanna Nolan for that. That's 3 on her.
That one hurts. That's a ticky-tack that takes your best, most athletic player off the floor. But remember, one point of emphasis in the WNBA, just like the NBA, you don't want to impede a player's progress. So as she goes off the bounce, that hand check right there, I mean, they are forced to call that. You don't want to impede a player's progress. You want this to be about the offense.
Foul for another 3. She's still on fire. She's made all 5 of her shots. That's a 3. And Sacramento quickly back within 2.
So the guards from Sacramento answering.
Nicole Powell shooting better than 50% in the playoffs from three-point land. Ford misses the layup. Powell may have had something to do with that.
No question. That's a great example of the white line defense, being there for your teammates.
And then Penachero with an awkward-looking pass, and it's a Sacramento turnover. Her and Brunson not on the same page that time. Katie Smith for another 3. In and out. But an offensive rebound. Swin Cash working the baseline. And call timeout. Well, this is the Detroit team that Bill Laimbeer has been hoping to see, and we expected to see for the entire series. And the Nicole Powell trying to give Sacramento its second straight championship. She has 12 points, 5 of 5 from the field, and 2 threes in the game.
It's a shot by 2. Linda Cohn, Nancy Lieberman, Becky Hammond. Nancy, Detroit playing with heart, playing like a team for the first time in a series. Well, the Rosso only have 5 turnovers, and Becky, I'm very impressed. Detroit is using the weak side of the court with the skip pass.
Well, absolutely. They're being smart. That's what the white line gives up. The skip pass, and they're knocking down shots. Look for their bigs to get more involved now that they've spread the court.
It's a great pace. Let's see if it continues. Let's send it back down to Dave and Doris.
And they've hit their last 2 threes in the last 70 seconds.
Well, here's a prime example of what our analysts were just talking about. The dribble drive, skip pass. Look at those white jerseys. Everybody collapses a skip. The weak side pass and an easy shot for Detroit.
Meanwhile, Sacramento has hit all 4 of its 3-point attempts. Detroit is 2 of 6, both those threes by Katie Smith. Detroit with a 2-point lead is led by as many as 6 here in the second quarter. Shot clock at 3. Pearson lets it fly. Brunson controls for Sacramento.
That's not really in Pearson's game. She's a better slasher, but good recognition to go ahead and take that shot because she didn't have time to make a move.
Yolanda Griffith looking for a first field goal. Instead, passes to Panachero. And then Pearson trying to keep Brunson off her back, knocked it out of bounds.
The reason there's so much congestion on the post and the reason there's uncontested shots on Tisha, they're coming off her to double, Dave. That's why there's all that presence around the Sacramento posts.
Griffith 0 for 3 from the field, 4 points and 5 rebounds. Lawson off the dribble for 2. Panachero takes it away from Riley, and a jump ball will be called. Let's get an injury update on Micah Baugh with Heather Cox.
And you saw Micah Baugh go into the locker room. She remains there with a cut on her right cheek. The medical staff is diagnosing now how to stop the bleeding, whether they'll stitch it up or use a butterfly. Either way, she will return, which is good news for Monarchs fans. She's averaging about 12 minutes per game in the playoffs and is really key to that Monarch rotation.
We've seen a lot of Band-Aids in this series. Kara Braxton has one on the right side of her face. When Cash had a bandage on her hand yesterday, she says that somebody's nail cut her in game 3. Cash ahead to Smith. Can't score. And Brunson with a rebound and the Detroit foul. That's going to go on Smith, her first. Both teams with 14 fouls.
Just to Heather Cox's point, they do need Micah Baugh, and the reason they need her is she provides them a legitimate post defender off the bench to try to stay with the Detroit guards.
Meanwhile, Sacramento with perhaps its worst offensive quarter since game 2 in the fourth quarter. They have only 10 points this period, but they trail by just 2. Brunson can't hit it. Griffith is there for a 6th rebound, but Pearson takes it off the glass.
Good challenge. Both ends of the floor, you had easy shots, but made tougher by the defensive challenge. So good stand by both teams.
Cash, ball fake, no whistle, couldn't hit it off the window. Out to Smith though. Detroit with a 2-point lead has not led at halftime this entire series. Pearson runs into Brunson, and that will be on Brunson, her second, and Katie Smith will go to the free throw line as Detroit is in the penalty.
So smart. I mean, this young lady is just such a smart basketball player, and I'll tell you, we've questioned Detroit's effort throughout the course of the series. Katie Smith is one player whose effort I will never question. She's come with it every single night. She's been more or less effective, but not because of effort.
12 points tonight, at 21 in game 1, 16 in game 2, all in the second half. She has struggled at the free throw line here in the playoffs, shooting right around 70%, normally a 90% free throw shooter. And that's just the first miss by either team in the game at the free throw line. Panachero will come out. Haney returns for Sacramento.
Sacramento's missed 11 of 15 field goals this quarter. Now, the reason the substitution to Haney is they're not guarding Panachero. Haney is more willing and sometimes more capable of making those shots.
And she can also take it to the basket, as we saw earlier in this game. Shot clock at 10. Lawson with Powell guarding it. Pulls the trigger. Short for three. Pearson soars in there to get the rebound.
Great pursuit of the basketball.
Cash 1-on-2. Tried that lob pass in traffic. Knocked out of bounds by Sacramento. 14 to shoot for Detroit. The Lambeers team trying to even this series at 2 wins apiece. And game 5 would be in Detroit as Katie Smith hits from the outside again. That's a 2, and Detroit leads by 5.
Solid screen. Just a nice job getting their guards open.
Griffith held without a field goal here in the first half. 7 to shoot. And Powell will go to the free throw line as Cheryl Ford is called for a second foul. So 2 on Ford, 3 on Deanna Nolan. She's been on the bench for some time, but Detroit has kept its lead with Nolan on the pine. She had 6 points early on, but has only played 10 minutes here in the first half. Powell has not missed from the field, and she's shooting 86% of the line in the playoffs. Sorry, Doris.
It never fails.
Durrell back into the game. Holland Korn comes in for the first time tonight for Detroit.
I have to encourage you on behalf of all players to not mention streaks about shooting until the shot's released.
Ruth Riley comes back into the game.
Well, you're putting some pressure on the home team here in the first half. If you're Detroit, you've got the lead.
They've outscored Sacramento by 9 in the quarter. 1 out of 2 for foul. 3-second difference between the game and shot clocks. Detroit can hold for the final shot. Per set.
This is where they flatten things out. You might see somebody come up and get a screen.
And they're going to say that Durrell stuck her leg out and committed a foul. That's her first, and Katie Smith will shoot 2. Do you think that even though Bill Lambier took a fine for what he said in the post-game press conference on Sunday, that it's had an impact at all on how the calls have gone?
Well, 11 team fouls against Sacramento to this point, 9 team fouls versus Detroit. I talked to the head of officiating for the WNBA, Dean Cameron, who is, meticulous about her job, Dave. They went over the film with a fine-tooth comb. They feel like while they have not been perfect, they have not discriminated against either team in this series.
And you wouldn't think that would be the case, even though many of the shot personnel are saying that there is a bias. Hard to believe at this level that would happen. Smith gets in both. 43-37 Detroit. Shot clock is off.
Good job to come with soft pressure. What it does is it limits your ability to be effective right here because you've used a lot of time just getting it over.
Powell guarded by Cash with 3 seconds to go. No. Rebound by Braxton. And that will end the half. Detroit's best half of the finals. The Shot lead by 6. First time all series they have led after either the first or the second quarter. Katie Smith, 17 points. She's with Stephanie.
Katie, you said you wanted to be aggressive, already having attempted 11 field goals. Do you feel good about the way the game's going so far?
So far, so good. I mean, they're going to make runs at it. It's going to be a tough ball game. We just got to keep playing smart, keep playing hard.
How are you going to keep that focus going into the half? You all have a hard time maintaining this level.
Hey, 20 minutes of basketball. If we don't play hard here, there's no more left. So 20 minutes isn't a whole lot to ask.
All right, thanks, Katie. Let's go back up to Linda Cohn on the set.
Thank you, Stephanie, along with Nancy Lieberman and Becky Hammond. This is a different